Okay, let's be honest. Finding a research topic can be one of the most frustrating parts of the entire academic journey. You feel like you're lost in this endless ocean of published work, just desperately trying to find one single original idea. It's a huge struggle, but you know what? It really doesn't have to be.
I mean, does this sound familiar? This right here is the feeling. I think pretty much everyone has been there. You feel like you're just spinning your wheels, you're drowning in PDFs, and you are getting absolutely nowhere. It's maddening.
But what if I told you the problem isn't about how much you're reading, but how you're reading? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you the exact spots where researchers pretty much accidentally give away the gaps in their own work. I promise, by the end of this, you will never look at a research paper the same way again.
All right, first things first. We have to bust the biggest myth out there, this whole idea of finding an empty space. So this is the fundamental shift in thinking you need to make. The myth, what we're all taught to do, is to look for what's missing. Some untouched piece of land nobody has ever studied. But the truth? The way that seasoned researchers do it, they look for the friction. You're not looking for a hole, you're looking for a fault line, a tension, a conflict.
And here's why that matters so much. Think about it. Science rarely ever moves forward by just exploring total emptiness. If a topic has 0 papers written about it, there's probably a good reason. Maybe it's impossible to study, or maybe it's just not that important. The real juicy progress happens when we step in to solve existing tensions.
Okay, so if these gaps aren't in some big empty space, then where on earth are they actually hiding? Let's get practical.
Your first stop, and honestly, the easiest win you're going to get, is the limitations section of a research paper. Seriously, start thinking of this section as a treasure map.
This is literally where researchers tell you, point blank, what they couldn't figure out. They are handing you a to-do list for your own research. So when you see phrases like future studies should examine or the underlying mechanism remains unclear, that's not just boilerplate text. That is a direct invitation for you to jump in.
Now, let's level up a bit to the next type of gap, contradictory evidence. This is when you find different studies looking at the same thing, but they come up with totally opposite results. This creates this powerful, unresolved tension that is just begging for someone to figure it out. Right. Here's a perfect example. Study A finds a positive link, but then study B finds a negative one. Now, a novice might just get confused and ask, well, which one is right? But a real gap finder asks a much better question. Why? Why do they conflict? Is it the method, the population they studied? Answering that why, that's your research gap.
And you know, sometimes the gap isn't about what is being asked, it's all about how it's being asked. We call this a methodological gap. The questions themselves might be old, but the tools we have to answer them are brand new. It's totally possible that old, outdated techniques were just missing what our modern, more powerful tools can finally see.
So once you start seeing these things, it all leads to this really critical shift in the way you approach reading papers in the first place.
And here it is. This is the big aha moment. You don't need to read more papers. You just need to read them differently. This isn't a volume game, it's a strategy game. You have to stop reading like a student who's just trying to summarize and start reading like a detective who's looking for clues.
Okay, so let's say you found a potential gap. How do you know if it's actually any good? How do you know if it's worth pursuing? Well, let's use a super simple but really powerful tool I call the 3-question gap test.
And listen, this isn't just some random checklist I made up. It's actually grounded in formal academic frameworks, like the one you see here. These frameworks show how different kinds of gaps, like contradictions or methodological issues, require different strategies to solve them. It's a systematic approach.
So, the test boils down to these 3 simple questions. First, is it a repeated problem? Like, does this same limitation pop up in multiple papers? That's a great sign. Second, is it technically solvable? Can we actually answer this with the tools and methods we have today? And third, and this is a big one, is the impact meaningful? If you solved it, would it actually change how people think or what they do in this field? If you can get a solid yes on at least 2 of these, you've probably got a great project on your hands.
So now that you have the tools, let's put it all together. Let's talk about shifting from just using these tactics to actually adopting the mindset of a researcher. This is such a key piece of insider information. Your advisor, your committee, they're not that impressed by some wild, new, novel idea. What really impresses them is inevitability. A great research gap is one that feels completely obvious after you explain the tension it solves. It's not about being obscure, it's about finding that clear, logical next step the whole field has been waiting for.
And this brings us all the way back to that student from the beginning.
The one who read 60 papers and got nowhere. The difference between them and someone who finds a great topic in just a handful of papers, it's not about intelligence, it's about perspective. It's about learning how to spot where the confusion, the contradictions, and the tensions are hiding in plain sight.
So, here's my challenge to you. The very next time you open a research paper, try this. Don't just ask yourself, okay, what did these authors discover? Instead, ask a different question. Where did they struggle? Where were they uncertain? Where did they have to admit they just couldn't find the answer? Because right there, that isn't the end of their paper. That's the beginning of yours.